All right, folks, let's see what's going on here. I have here in this little directory a bit of 4coder update action. And I think I wanted to do a 4coder Friday today. Of course, it's Monday, so it's a 4coder Monday. But I saw that Alan had recently updated it to support building from the editor. So that's getting really close now. So there's like just a couple things probably left before I can just switch over to it. It's like tab complete and jump to error, then maybe macro recording, which honestly I could probably live without the macro recording. So like it is super, super close now. So I wanted to go see if I could get it working, not get it working, but update my config file to be, what it needs, to see if I'm forgetting anything or if it really is that close, because this is coming up on really actually being able to switch away from Emacs permanently, which would be pretty great. So I guess I'm 4coder custom.h. This is the one that I'm using right now. I think, no, custom.cpp. This is the one that I'm using. And there's not like a whole lot in there that I need to do, just these things here. And so I'm going to just go ahead and like rename that. I'm going to call this 4coder KC for now. And then I'm going to unpack like all the stuff from here. So I'm just going to grab all these and I'm going to put them in here. So here we go. Copy and replace for everything. Yes. And then I think I should just be able to run it, and it should be running, I think, just the standard build that would not have my custom stuff in it. And so I don't even know like what that would do, but obviously the executable works. So now I just have to build my custom version, and so I'm going to go into Emacs, the editor that I am hoping to replace with 4coder at some point, and see again how far away we are from that eventuality. So here's my old config file. Here's 4coder custom.cpp, which is like what Alan ships as the current example. And I'm just going to take a quick look. Sometimes it's hard because I got to page back in how some of this stuff works. But I'm just going to take a quick look at what's going on here. So let's see. It seems like we've got my start. So it looks like my start is the new way that you do your own startup stuff. Is that correct? I don't actually know. Okay, yeah. So basically, you set a hook and do that. So that seems totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. This is the stuff that I was doing before. I don't actually know to what extent this stuff actually still works, because I don't know if he changed the command IDs at all. Looks like they're mostly still right. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my start there, and I'm just going to put these things in here. I'm not going to have fulfill my interaction because, or sorry, fulfill that load, because I'm just going to see if I can just make this basic one work. Change active panel, interactive open. I don't actually know if I need any of those. I think I just want vsplit just to give me my standard split for now, right? And so I believe I have a build.bat in here, which does a build super. So that should create a custom one. And so now maybe in theory, if I run it, it will split vertically, and it does. Okay, so that's pretty great. And so now I've got a vertical split window, which is my standard setup. Okay, so now I've got to go and I've got to make the key bindings work. So I don't know what some of these things are. Some of these might be new. I don't know. So we have my file settings. It looks like this checks buffer file name just in case, get active buffer, buffer file, buffer size, extension len, get extension. Okay, so this looks like I guess now he's supporting your own determination essentially of like what you would do with a file, right? Like, because I currently do this thing where, like, if depending on what kind of file it is, I insert text into it. I don't know if that's allowed yet, but that's pretty cool because this would basically be the start of that. Like, if I could do this and say, oh, if this thing has a CPP or an H or whatever, I can insert my like header into it when I open it or things like that, or pick how I'm going to parse it. That's pretty cool. So I don't need to touch that at the moment, but that's cool so far anyway. All right. So I don't know what this is. Open my files looks like just something that he's doing. Probably, so this is probably some demo, maybe to show how I might implement like to do, for example, because I do care about this. I don't need to do that. It's not a deal killer for me, but it looks like he's supporting the way that I might open my to-do files as well. So that's pretty cool there too, but I don't need to maybe do anything with that just yet. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit. Then we've got custom command sig build at launch location. So this is the new build situation that's happening. And this is pretty good. It looks like, yeah, so it looks like I can sort of hack this to do whatever I need to do. So we'll hold off on that for a second because that, you know, we'd probably fuss with that a little bit. But then we've got, let's see, this other stuff in here. So this actually does the search, it looks like. So he's actually even built in the search that does the search we do on Handmade Hero. So that's already in the example, which means I don't even have to write it myself, which is pretty awesome as well. Although other people would maybe have to write their own for their personal way that they do that. And then we've got get bindings here, and here are the key bindings. Now, what I might do, because we've sort of had to do this every time, and it doesn't seem particularly productive to do this every time, I'm just going to take 4coder casey.cpp, which had the stuff in it from before. I'm going to like strip out, essentially, everything in here that is not relevant anymore, right? And in fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll actually copy this stuff in here. So like I'll put in the hook signature, which is like Casey start or something, you know what I mean? And that way I can kind of leave his file alone. And that way when we update, I won't really have to do that much. So there's like that hook signature thing that allows me to say what I want to do on start, and I can set that hook later. I can get rid of this because I don't care about that. And then I had some of these things here like open in other, and he sort of has this, but this is sort of in some sense mine because like I want to have this myself. So I'll just call this Casey open in other, so I've got my own, and I can always change to using his if his becomes standard or something, but since it's just an example. And then clean and save, I'll just call Casey clean and save because I know that as well, right? And so that's all good. So yeah, so it looks like he's got write and auto tab as well, which is pretty great. So man, there's just a lot of stuff here. Okay, we may have to go a little long in the pre-stream because I would like to get this working. I kind of want to see where we're at. So these are the bindings that I believe that I believe I hadn't been able to do yet, and I think that at least some of these, like find file other window, are now actually quite obviously being handled. And so this is probably what I will have to start chipping away at soon. So I'm going to move this up to the top here. And like I said, I'm going to kind of get rid of all of this stuff. This should just stay in every file that's ever been written. We'll just leave that up there because it needs to be there. And so this stuff can all go away because now these are things that he's defining in his thing, and I don't need any of that. And so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of come down here and say, well, okay, so in this 4coder custom that he's got here, where it does get bindings, I'm just going to do a pound include 4coder casey.cpp right there. And then, you know, all I'll have to do then from now on to port is just call this and like comment out his entire thing and like replace it with mine, right? That seems like the easiest thing to do. So I'll just do this, and that, and let's see here. So we'll do get binding data, get bindings. we'll if zero around this, and yeah, and then we'll just in here we'll call my little situation. So we'll call. I don't actually know what the signature of this thing is, so I might have to look. Get binding data looks like that. So that's got to return an integer. What is the actual integer that it is returning? It's how much it wrote, it looks like. Now, Alan, I'm curious, why does it need to return that? Whatever this context is surely could have had that information saved in it, I would think. Because like the calling code, whatever a context is, right? Like, let's take a look here. Whatever a context is, and I don't really know, I guess it's opaque to me. Whoever calls out to the user, it seems like it would be nice if it didn't have to return anything like that, because it could just save where it was in the right, like where the watermark was essentially, call to the user, and then look at where the watermark is now, and then it's got this thing, right? So it seems to me like that's not maybe super necessary, but maybe it is. I don't know. I don't know the details necessarily of what you're doing. Oh, bind helper, that's what it is. So bind helper. Let me take a look and see if that's in here anywhere. So bind underscore helper. Bind helper, there it is. So write total, yeah. I mean, so it looks like the reason for that is just because this context maybe isn't smart enough to know what happened to it, or the person on the other side isn't paying enough attention. So I feel like maybe this should not be necessary. Very minor point, just throwing it out there in case it's not something that you've looked at so far. All right, so anyway, I'll just do this here, and then we'll call into Casey get bindings. We should just be able to do it with, I think, just the, I assume just this context. Do we ever use anything else for anything here? I think it's just the context. Yeah, it looks like just the context. So I think in that case, what I would probably say is, you know, all we need to do here is pass the context to the Casey get bindings routine, and maybe that's enough. I don't know about this codes thing. So it does need to get a little bit of this. It needs to get key codes as well. Maybe that's enough. We'll find out in a second. Here we go. Casey get bindings. That can be a void. And there's the context. And there's the codes. And now we can see if that works at all. I don't know if it does. Obviously, okay, so Casey get bindings doesn't need to do any of these things. And so I think we will still need all of this, right? So let's do that. So in the context, we have the Casey start, hook open file my file settings. So that's like this guy here. So that for now can stay the same since I'm not really going to do anything else with it. I'm not going to customize it. So I'll keep pointing to his until I've got my own that needs to, you know, be doing its thing that it does. Or something. Anyway, point being, let's see what we've got here. Interactive new, interactive kill buffer. I want splits to just happen when I done launch the editor, which is what he did. So this is already here, right? And we don't need any of these. So that's actually fine. I think. I don't know why these are... I guess because I don't use either of them, so those can go away. So there's map_id global. Here's map_id file. Is that still how this works? It's not. So it looks like this is a little more complicated now than it used to be. And so let's see. Do I need anything else here? I don't think I need anything else here. These callbacks may not actually be useful to you, but go look at them to see what they do. Yes. Okay, so these are open my files. I don't really know what that was. What's open my files? If the file does not exist, command to be open behaves as usual. Okay, so this, yeah, that's basically the open the to-do one. So that we can actually do now. I guess I should sort of make a list here of what to do. Okay, so basically I need a few things. I don't know, I guess the global map, this is true. So this would actually be in here, I think. I'm not sure I understand what bind me and bind are. I wonder if that went away. Is bind me, what is bind me? I may have forgotten what bind me actually is. So I am going to sort of, you know what, I also need this keyboard to be further away. There we go. I would like to know about what that is. What is bind me? So does 4coder custom.h have any documentation for what bind me is, as opposed to bind me versus bind? Oh, okay. So bind, that's actually pretty straightforward, actually. It's just whether you're passing it one of yours. I see. So the me is like my function versus your function. So that makes perfect sense. All right, so let's see here. We've got, in the Casey thing here, so we've got bind me, we've got for Casey open and other, and then we'd also have a bind me here for alt-t, for alt Casey open to do, and that would just do like Casey open to do. That would do the open my files thing exactly as he did it. So I don't know what change active. I don't really know what the rest of this stuff does. So I think, I mean, that seems like all I would really need, right? And so this is how I would normally have it work, and I don't really think I need anything else. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't really know anything about this stuff. I see it. You've seen everything I know about 4coder on stream, so I'm just going to leave it at that, and we can test that and play around with that later when I actually care maybe more about it getting it to work. But anyway, there's like sort of the global map. Here is the file map, and that, like I said, appears to be a little bit different. So the way that that's working now is you kind of say, like, oh, I want to inherit, you know, I can sort of have maps that sort of cascade and inherit. I don't super need that, but that does sound like a pretty nice feature for people to use. I just don't think I super need it. Okay, so let's see here. Hopefully this stuff is all the same. This is a new concept, binding subs of binding all combos which have an ASCII code, if they're not, or unmodified. Okay, so does bind vanilla keys still happen? Yes, it does, to command right character. And it looks like map ID file, let's see here. So I don't really have these two yet, but so yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, for now, I might even just do this, because I don't know that I really have all that much to say about these things. And so I might just leave it all as a map ID file at the moment, and then later when I actually have thought more about how to divide it up, because I do occasionally have different honest types of files and all that stuff, then I would go ahead and do that. Okay, so here's map ID file, and it's all this stuff, right? And then at the end of that, I would do nmap context. I think at the end of 4coder custom, I would have that do it there. And now let's just see where we're at. So I don't really know what command ID delete chunk was or wasn't originally even. So I'm not necessarily sure what I would want there. I guess it's cut is, or well, you know, I don't know. Delete range, maybe. Let's just say that it's delete range, because I don't know, and then we'll figure it out. So clean and save is Casey clean and save. And there's no return from that. Now, in here, I'm pretty sure I don't need anything else because, like I said, everything else can stay. And so now we've got like our key binding stuff kind of isolated, and off we go. All right. So let's see if I can run 4coder here. I don't know if I can or if I can't. Does not seem to... let's see. So it does not seem happy with me with what I have done, which is probably a little bit due to my situation here where I've probably done things horribly wrong, which is not great, but I will need to debug it. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So if I do cd 4coder, 4ed 4coder dot oops, ms dev 4ed.exe, let me just see what happens with that. So let's make sure this is launching where I want it to launch, which is here, and it is. All right, so if I launch, yeah, that's fine. I don't care that you don't have any. So here I am in the 4coder window. I hit Alt-F, and nothing seems to happen. Okay, so that's interesting. So it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, but it looks like it only does left Alt. So I wonder if I need to be more specific about Alt keys, or if that's actually just a problem in the Alt handling. Like, if I do right Alt-F, it doesn't work, but if I do left Alt-F, it does. So that confused me the first time. All right, so let's go ahead and open 4coderkc.cpp, integer division by 0. So what happened here? I don't know. idiv, where are we? We have very little to go on here, obviously, because we don't have a PDB. At least I don't think we do. Yeah, we do not. For an app.dll, which is this thing, and we're definitely dividing by 0. What is R11? We loaded it out of something, but I don't know what that thing was, actually. So let's take a look here. So there's my R11. Here's my dword pointer. Thank you. Okay. Well, can I get that in hex, please? Oh, Visual Studio, you're always so helpful. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. So what are we looking at here? What are we looking at? Honestly, not a whole heck of a lot. Not a lot of text in here. So yeah, it's probably not going to be within my reasonable ability to guess what's happening there. So I am not sure. It's unhappy with something that we're doing, but I don't know what. And so I guess one thing we could do is see if it's us by just doing that and trying to use the bindings that are there. So let's see if we do that. Here is the window, and if I look at what he's got open file, guess it's X, is that, or is it interactive open? So it's O, looks like Control O. So if I do Control O, and I do 4coder kc.cpp, yeah, so seems like we have ruined things, because you'll notice that it's running just fine when I'm not involved. So we definitely, my little attempt to graph things on there did not go particularly well, but unfortunately I don't exactly know why. So let's take a closer look here, see if I can just spot check it before we switch over to Handmade Hero. So there's hook start and my false things. Those are roughly the same. I assume that KC start isn't doing anything too egregious. I guess I don't know. Then here in begin map ID global, we're binding some things, but they're pretty much the same things that he's got bound. There's a few less than he has bound, but I can't imagine that would be that big of a deal. And then we end that context. So then here we go with the begin map. That's exactly the same. We just don't do any of these bindings, and then we end the context. So that's seems harmless enough. I don't know, maybe it's not. Here's map ID file. In here we bind vanilla keys exactly the way he does. We've got a bunch of these things in here. They look like the exact same, as far as I can tell. We've got these control movement ones where we've got seek white space. So we're calling seek white or token. Would I assume that's okay? I mean, that doesn't seem like it would be a huge deal, and I don't know that I was using any of those with the crash. So these seem pretty reasonable. Let's see. I don't know. Yeah, we're not even binding. Most of the stuff that he's got bound, we're not binding. And then, yeah, at the end we end map, so it should be about the same. I can't tell. End bind helper, context actual, begin bind helper, data size, bind helper context actual. Yeah, I don't know what we did wrong. What did we do? We did something wrong. So maybe I'll send this to Alan and ask him to take a look and tell us where we're crashing. Because yeah, I do not know what we're doing that's bad, but it's something. Because like as soon as I hit down arrow, it crashes, and that was totally not true when using the default one. So basically, command ID move down, just that alone was enough to crash, and we were like moving around no problem before. So I don't know. You know what it could be? I wonder if the 0 is how many things there are in this map, and he divides by that number for some reason. I wonder if I was just to bind something in this code map for no reason. Like, for example, if I was to grab something from here that I don't use, like whatever this is, right? Command ID clean all lines, right? Control tilde. So if I was to do that and just make sure that there was some binding in that map, I wonder if that would be enough. Let's see. Again, just totally guessing here. I don't have any idea. 4coder KC CPP. So now it seems like it's hung. So the plot is definitely thickening here a little bit, right? So I am interested in this. So what I'm going to do, just temporarily, is I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to get rid of the code map thing entirely and just have a map ID file. And now I want to see what happens with that by itself. You know what? Thank you for that, telling me every time. Okay. 4coder kc.cpp. All right, so yeah, that definitely had something to do with it, because here I am, and now I'm like editing just fine. So I think that part is maybe like not really tested yet, the like inheritance thing where it's like, oh, if I didn't define anything in that map, then suddenly there's a problem. All right, so yeah, and it also seems to me like right alt doesn't actually seem to work. So like right alt, like left alt works, but right alt doesn't. And I'm not 100% sure if that's something I need to change. It could be that that's actually a feature, and I just need to say that I want both of them bound. Let's see. So there's alt, but there's no right or left in it. So I think that might be, all right. So let's just make a list here. To do KC, here are the problems so far. Making a code map seem to go bad. Don't really care about that right now because I don't need it, but just worth noting. So that was thing. Another thing was that right alt key doesn't seem to work. And I guess what I would like to know too, I guess what happens with control. So the control key is doing its little thing here, right? And if I switch to using the right control key, that works. So it appears to just be the alt key that doesn't work on the right side. There doesn't seem to be any problem with control. So it's only that one. So the right alt key doesn't seem to work. Let's see what else we've got here. So new line and indent. Let's open up Handmade Hero here. Of course, I have to remember to never use the the right alt, which is a little hard. Okay, so Handmade. Well, actually, I guess I don't need to do that. I can just do it in here. I don't know why I thought that was the case. So another thing I should say is, Control G. I should get that in here. Control G for cancel. It needs to get in there. Okay. So I think a lot of this stuff is actually done. So after these are done, I could test that as well. But let's take a look here. So what do we know it's going to... This is now there, right? So we should be able to do all of these. I don't know about any of these or these. View back to mark. This I think we could do. We'll find out in a second. I don't know about these, possibly. I know that all of these are probably not there yet. Well, I guess I don't know about case relay string, but quick calc next to our POS error, not there. And iMenu as well, not there. KC replace in region, don't know about. I don't really know about any of those. Keyboard macros we know aren't there, as well as deabbrev expand. So all of this, though, might be there, don't know. All right. So I think possibly all of this stuff, oops, except for that one. I think we can probably do a lot of these, actually. I think we can probably do a lot of these. And in fact, I think we could probably do all of these. I think the only ones we can't do right now are basically from here down. So I think we're down to like that, maybe, but I'm not sure. So probably can't do. I actually don't know about these either, but we'll say probably can't do, and these are the ones I think are definitely can't do. So yeah, so up in here, so new line and indent. What's that? So that'd be KC command sig KC new line and indent, and I'm pretty sure that I saw that in here, that he had already done that. Yeah, here it is, right? And so I think all I have to do there is just this. And really I want to write a particular character, but I guess it doesn't matter because it's when you hit return anyway, so I don't know. So let's see what happens if I do make that happen when you hit return in the coding map here. So in map ID file, I don't know how to bind return to something. Let's find out. Maybe I can do it. Codes return, you know, and there's no modifier on it. So if I just look to see if it's got those key codes somewhere in here, so escape. So I don't know if return's in there. It doesn't look like it is. I'll try that, but I don't actually know if that's the correct thing or not. But anyway, we can test it. I assume. I don't know what behind OS means. Also, if that's a bad thing or not. But anyway, so in here right now, if I hit return, you can clearly see that it does not indent. So if I close this and rebuild my 4coder custom, now we should be able to see, and that can go away. We don't need you anymore. I should be able to see now when I run it. Oh, not that. I'm in the wrong directory, folks. There we go. I should be able to see when I run it now whether that indent worked or not. So here's 4coder kc.cpp again. Here I am going down, and so let's see whether this works. I have no idea if it does. It does. That's pretty awesome. Oh dear. It does not like my undo for some reason. Spec.stir equals 0. Well, apparently that's ignorable. Nobody knows why. It just is. So it looks like it's when I'm on when I'm about to undo past the tab there or something. So that seems to work pretty well. Let me just see. I don't actually know much about this, but so let's say I do like internal void. This is my function, int some number char star some string, and then I say for int foo equals 0, foo is less than 5, plus plus foo, like so. So it looks like the auto indent is a little off too. So that looks correct, but this doesn't, meaning that should have come back to here and stopped indenting at some point. Yeah. So I think, and there's also, so I got to figure out how to do my control K. So my control K also doesn't seem to work quite the way I would normally expect it to work. So delete range is not actually what I want. I want like delete till the end of line. So this is a to-do here, to-do KC. How do I do delete until end of line? Yeah. Alrighty, so I think it's looking pretty good. It's getting there. We can basically do that now. It just looks like the indentation's not quite right. Find file, corresponding file, and corresponding file of the window. And you know what, these bindings, I think I could probably do that now. Yeah, so I can basically do all of these, I think. And I can basically do all of these. Find file other window I already did, and it works. So if I do Control-Shift-F, 4coder string.h, it totally works. So that's already done. Find file other window. Load to do, let's see if that works. Alt-T. I don't actually know if that looks broken. All right. So I don't know about that one yet. We'll see. And log is just the same. So if I can implement this one, I don't actually give a hoot, let's say, about log. And these two might be implementable now by just switching to the other one, executing the scroll up and down. So yeah. So we're getting pretty close here. I don't know how close it really is because it's hard to know how much work it will take to do some of these, but we're getting pretty close. I may do another one of those sometime soon so I can see if I can get the rest, because I'd really like to get off Emacs sometime soon.